When the host of a liberal television channel attempted to trap Donald Trump by questioning him about marriage on live television, she could not have imagined that this would become the biggest mistake of her career. But before we delve into the details, let us set the scene. It was a primetime slot on a major television network, with millions of viewers tuning in. The host, known for her provocative style, had a reputation for asking tough questions, particularly when interviewing conservatives. This time she was confident she had prepared the perfect trap. Her team had spent weeks crafting questions designed to put Trump in an awkward position and challenge his views on family values. However, she had no idea what was coming. As the cameras began rolling, Trump calmly took his seat, exuding his trademark confidence. The host greeted him with a strained smile, the kind often worn by media elites who believe they are about to dismantle someone's reputation. What unfolded next would not only derail her career, but also demonstrate to the entire nation what it truly means to stand up for family values. It all began with a seemingly innocent question. "Mr. Trump," she began in a rehearsed, soft tone, "you built an empire, became president, and influenced millions of people. Do you think you were just lucky?" Trump leaned forward slightly, his expression a mix of self-assurance and amusement. That's an interesting question," he replied in a calm, steady voice. Liberals love the word luck. They use it to belittle achievement, to create the illusion that hard work and sacrifice don't matter. But let me tell you something about luck. It doesn't build skyscrapers, it doesn't create jobs, and it certainly doesn't make America great. The host's smile tightened for a fraction of a second. This was not the response she had anticipated, but she wasn't ready to back down. "So, you're saying you achieved everything solely through hard work?" she pressed. "I'm saying," Trump replied, his voice growing firmer, "that success comes to those who earn it. Yes, I've been given a lot, but I've also worked harder than most people can imagine. Sleepless nights, impossible deals, challenges that would break many, but most importantly, I've never been alone." The host's eyebrows lifted slightly. This was the moment she had been waiting for, or so she thought. Confident she had found a vulnerability, she pressed further. "Let's talk about the people behind Donald Trump," she said, her voice sweet but laced with caution. "Of course," Trump replied calmly. "When you talk about the people who support me, you probably mean my business partners, my advisors. But let me tell you who truly deserves the most credit. My family, especially Melania." The host's expression shifted almost imperceptibly, like a predator sensing prey. She was sure she had found a weak spot. She drawled with a slight smile, "many people wonder about her role in all of this. Some believe that, as the wife of such an influential man, she's too quiet." Trump's eyes narrowed slightly, and the tension in the studio became palpable. "Quiet?" he replied. "There's a difference between being quiet and being dignified, but I suppose some journalists struggle to tell the two apart." The host chuckled nervously, clearly not expecting such a response, but she wasn't ready to retreat. "Well," she continued, "we rarely hear her make public statements, unlike other political wives who are more active. Doesn't the public deserve to know more about the woman behind Donald Trump?" Trump's voice carried a touch of pride and a hint of sternness as he responded. "The public knows exactly what it needs to know. She is smart, successful, and chooses her words wisely, unlike some who fill every pause with empty chatter." A murmur of approval rippled through the audience, and the host's smile faltered momentarily. Realizing her usual tactics weren't working, she decided to push harder. "Let's talk about her achievements," she said, her tone growing sharper. "Some people wonder if her main accomplishment is simply becoming Mrs. Donald Trump." The temperature in the studio seemed to drop. Trump's expression hardened, and the audience's disapproving glances spoke volumes. What happened next would go down in television history. "Let me make one thing clear," Trump said, leaning forward slightly. "If we're talking about achievements, let's start with this. She built a successful career, represented our country with grace and dignity, and has been a first lady like no other in recent history. But of course, you wouldn't know that, would you? Because the mainstream media is too busy pushing its own agenda." The host visibly tensed, sensing she was losing control of the interview. She tried a different approach. "Of course, Mr. Trump. But hasn't marrying you opened certain doors for her?" Trump chuckled, though there was no humor in it. "You know what's interesting about your question? It perfectly reflects the problem with your mindset. Success isn't about open doors, it's about what you do once you walk through them. And Melania doesn't just walk through doors. She transforms every space she enters. The audience erupted in applause, and the host flushed, realizing her script was falling apart. Still, she pressed on. Nevertheless, you must admit that your position, wealth, and influence affect how people perceive her. Trump's response was immediate and cutting. You mean how people perceive her? Let me tell you something about success and influence. They don't create character, they reveal it. And what Melania has shown, despite endless attacks and unfair criticism, is why I'm proud to have her by my side. The host's smile finally vanished, but she made a fatal mistake. Since you mentioned her being by your side, she said, her tone suddenly sharp, isn't it difficult for a woman who didn't seek such fame? Trump's voice remained firm but controlled. It's difficult to watch the media twist every aspect of reality to fit its agenda. Melania didn't just adapt to this life, she thrived in it, despite constant attacks from those who claim to support women. Some might call it a golden cage, but let me ask you this. Why does the media praise strong, independent women only when they hold liberal views? When they're conservative, suddenly they're scrutinized and dismissed. The studio fell silent. The producer frantically whispered into the host's earpiece, but it was too late. She abandoned her professional tone entirely. Let's be honest, she said. You're a wealthy, influential man. You could have any woman in the world. Have you ever thought about finding someone younger? The room gasped. Trump sat motionless, his face unreadable, before slowly repeating her words. Finding someone younger? He said. Let me explain something. In business, you might find a better deal, a new contract, better terms. But we're not talking about real estate or cars. We're talking about my wife, my partner, the mother of my son. He leaned forward, his gaze piercing. Do you want to know what real value is? It's not youth or beauty. It's the person who stands by you when the cameras are off, who tells you the truth when everyone else tells you what you want to hear. Real value is loyalty, honor, and character qualities that, apparently, are no longer taught in journalism schools. The host's face paled. She opened her mouth to respond, but Trump wasn't finished. Now, let me tell you what the millions of people watching this interview are thinking. They're thinking about their own relationships, the years they've spent with their spouses, the trials they've faced together, the victories and defeats, and they're horrified by your question. The producer frantically signaled for a commercial break, but Trump continued. You know what makes America great? It's not success in business. It's the values of loyalty and commitment. The understanding that real relationships aren't built on profit or trends, they're built on standing together, no matter what. Trump leaned back in his chair, fully in control. So no, he said after a pause. I've never thought about finding someone younger. The host scrambled through her notes, desperate to regain control, but it was too late. The studio was silent, the cameramen frozen, realizing they were witnessing a historic moment. Trump wasn't done. The problem isn't with me or Melania, he said, his voice now carrying the weight of a lesson. The problem is with you and the modern journalism you represent. He gestured to her stack of questions. You came here with a pre-written script, thinking you could corner me. Instead, you've exposed why people no longer trust the mainstream media. The producer waved frantically behind the cameras, but the host sat motionless, realizing the situation was beyond repair. Did you really think you could humiliate me with these questions? Trump asked, shaking his head. In reality, you've humiliated yourself. You've shown your inability to understand what real relationships are about. The audience erupted in applause, some viewers even rising to their feet. Trump continued. Real journalism would have asked about Melania's charity work, her initiatives as First Lady, her impact on millions of Americans. But that wouldn't have gotten you ratings, would it? Instead, you went for the cheap shot, the viral moment. And that's why people are tired of the media. He leaned forward one last time. You want to know what really bothers people about the mainstream media? It's not just the bias, we all see that. It's that you've abandoned real values. You promote superficiality, convincing people that marriage, fidelity, and family are disposable. But the people watching this interview know better. They know that true love isn't something you replace. It's built on years of shared experiences, trials, and triumphs. The audience gave a standing ovation, some wiping away tears. The host sat in stunned silence, her career crumbling in real time. Within hours, the moment went viral, cementing its place in television history. What began as an attempt to humiliate Donald Trump became a powerful exposé of media bias. Instead of trapping him, the host found herself at the center of a scandal, demonstrating to the world why trust in the mainstream media has eroded. Most importantly, the conversation highlighted something far greater: the enduring importance of family, loyalty, and commitment. These are not values that can be updated or replaced. They are the foundation of true strength, standing by one another, no matter the challenges. What do you think? Does the media cover events objectively, or are they driven by ulterior motives? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on new videos. Support truth, support real values. See you in the next video.